Some of the most valuable coins in America don't look special at all. In fact, one small coin that many people would easily ignore has been linked to values reaching as high as $20,000 under the right circumstances. Today, we're exploring a collection of fascinating Lincoln wheat cents that have captured the attention of collectors for decades. We'll uncover what makes certain coins stand out, what details experts look for, and why a simple penny could become an unforgettable discovery. Before you spend or store your old coins, take a closer look, because one hidden detail could change everything. Step 1. The 1952 Lincoln wheat cent stands as one of those fascinating American coins that quietly traveled through everyday commerce while carrying a story far larger than its face value. Struck at the San Francisco Mint during the final years of the wheat cent design, this small bronze coin emerged during a period when America was experiencing rapid growth, industrial expansion, and changing economic conditions following World War II. Millions were produced, yet collectors have spent decades studying the subtle differences that separate ordinary examples from pieces that attract extraordinary attention. At first glance, it may appear to be just another old penny, but the details hidden within its surfaces have created a lasting reputation among dedicated coin enthusiasts who understand that age alone is never the entire story. When examining a 1952 Lincoln wheat cent, many collectors immediately focus on its distinctive appearance and overall quality of strike. Coins from the San Francisco Mint during this era sometimes displayed softer details than examples from other facilities, making sharply struck pieces especially desirable. The rich brown, reddish brown, or bright red coloration found on surviving specimens can dramatically influence collector interest. Lincoln's portrait, the wheat stalks on the reverse, the texture of the fields, and the sharpness of the lettering all contribute to a coin appeal. What makes the search especially interesting is that two coins produced in the same year and at the same mint can appear remarkably different decades later due to storage conditions, circulation history, and preservation quality. As collectors looked more closely over the years, stories began emerging about unusual examples that displayed characteristics beyond standard production. Minor die variations, subtle doubling effects, strike inconsistencies, and uncommon surface features became subjects of careful study. While most examples remain relatively ordinary, a small number have drawn significant attention because they offer clues about the minting process itself. Every unusual mark, shifted design element, or unexpected characteristic raises questions about what occurred during production. These mysteries continue to fuel interest because each discovery represents a connection to a specific moment inside the mint more than 70 years ago. Part of the excitement surrounding this coin comes from the possibility that an overlooked example may still exist in an old collection, inherited coin jar, forgotten drawer, or family keepsake box. Many collectors describe the experience as a treasure hunt conducted through history rather than through chance alone. A coin that appears unremarkable at first can reveal impressive details under proper lighting and magnification. The anticipation builds as every feature is examined more carefully, and that sense of curiosity keeps collectors returning to wheat cents year after year. Sometimes, the greatest reward comes not from finding a fortune, but from uncovering a story that has remained hidden for generations. Values can vary dramatically depending on condition, rarity, collector demand, and authentication results. Some minor variations or attractive examples may illustrate outcomes in the range of approximately $1,500 to $4,500, while more notable specimens have been associated with figures around $8,000. Certain high-grade examples have inspired discussions involving values near $9,000, and unusual mint anomalies have occasionally led collectors to consider possibilities around $15,000. Rare collector pieces with strong interest may illustrate outcomes near $10,000, while exceptionally preserved or uncommon examples have sometimes been compared to values around $12,000. These figures are illustrative only and never guaranteed, but they demonstrate how dramatically the market can respond when rarity and demand meet. The fascination grows even further when stories emerge of unusual finds that attract intense collector attention. In some situations, remarkable discoveries with strong demand have been associated with figures reaching approximately $65,000. Extraordinary examples possessing exceptional preservation, significant historical importance, or highly unusual characteristics have inspired conversations involving values up to $80,000. While such outcomes are extremely uncommon, they capture the imagination because they represent far more than money. For some people, those amounts could resemble a down payment on a home, a life-changing financial surprise, or the kind of once-in-a-lifetime discovery that becomes part of family history for years to come. Anyone examining a 1952 Lincoln wheat cent should approach the process carefully and responsibly. Pay close attention to weight differences, metal color, strike alignment, rim shape, and any signs of letter doubling. Observe whether the design appears centered, whether the lettering remains crisp, and whether unusual features seem consistent across the coin rather than resulting from damage. Magnification can reveal details invisible to the naked eye, but conclusions should never be rushed. Professional authentication remains one of the most important steps because experts can distinguish genuine mint characteristics from post-mint alterations, environmental effects, or misleading surface marks that may appear significant at first glance. The enduring appeal of the 1952 Lincoln wheat cent comes from the balance between accessibility and mystery. It is a coin that many people recognize, yet few fully understand. Every surviving example carries evidence of the journey it has taken through decades of American history, and every collector hopes the next examination will reveal something unexpected. Somewhere another overlooked coin may still be waiting inside an old collection, unnoticed despite its potential significance. And as remarkable as this wheat cent can be, the next coin in our journey may reveal an even more surprising story, one that could completely change the way you look at the spare change hiding in ordinary places. Step 2. The 1950 Lincoln wheat cent is one of those collectible American coins that quietly passed through countless hands while carrying a story few people ever noticed. Struck at the Denver Mint during a period of strong post-war economic growth, this small bronze cent was produced at a time when America was rapidly expanding. Families were building new futures, and everyday commerce relied heavily on pocket change. Millions entered circulation, yet decades later collectors began paying closer attention to certain examples that stood apart from the ordinary. What appears at first to be a simple penny often becomes something much more interesting when examined through the lens of history, preservation, and rarity. One of the most appealing aspects of the 1950 Lincoln wheat cent is its visual character. Familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the classic wheat ears on the reverse create a design that many collectors consider one of the most iconic in American coinage. Depending on how a coin was stored over the decades, its surface may display deep brown tones, warm reddish-brown color, or even vibrant original red luster. Tiny details such as the texture of Lincoln's coat, the sharpness of the wheat stalks, and the clarity of the lettering can dramatically influence collector interest. Two coins struck from the same year and mint can look completely different today, making every example a unique survivor of its own journey through time. As collectors studied these cents more carefully, subtle differences began attracting attention. Certain examples displayed stronger strikes than others, while some revealed unusual die characteristics, slight doubling, or small production irregularities that sparked curiosity among specialists. Denver Mint was producing enormous quantities of coins during this period, and every die experienced wear in a slightly different way. Those small variations left behind clues that collectors continue to investigate. Sometimes a feature that seems insignificant at first glance becomes the detail that transforms an ordinary coin into something far more desirable. The mystery surrounding old wheat cents often comes from the possibility that valuable pieces remain hidden in plain sight. Many people inherited collections from parents or grandparents without realizing what might be inside. A jar of old pennies tucked away on a shelf, a forgotten envelope in a desk drawer, or a small collection stored for decades can suddenly become the center of attention when a particular date and mint mark appears. The excitement is not simply about money. It is about discovery, history, and the feeling of holding a small object that has traveled through generations while preserving a silent connection to America's past. When value enters the conversation, the story becomes even more fascinating. Depending on condition, rarity, and collector demand, some minor variations or attractive examples may illustrate market outcomes between approximately $1,500 and $4,500. More notable specimens with desirable characteristics have been associated with figures around $8,000. High-grade examples displaying exceptional detail and preservation have inspired discussions involving values near $9,000. These numbers are illustrative rather than guaranteed, but they demonstrate how dramatically condition and rarity can influence the market for a seemingly ordinary coin. The ladder continues higher when unusual circumstances come into play. Rare collector pieces sometimes generate attention around $10,000, while exceptionally preserved or less commonly encountered examples may inspire values near $12,000. Coins displaying unusual mint anomalies have occasionally attracted interest in the range of $15,000. Such possibilities capture the imagination because they transform a small cent into something that feels much larger than its size. For some collectors, discovering an overlooked rarity can feel like a sudden windfall or a remarkable surprise that arrives when least expected. In especially uncommon situations, unusual finds supported by strong collector demand have been associated with figures reaching approximately $65,000. Extraordinary examples possessing exceptional quality, significant historical interest, or highly sought-after characteristics have inspired conversations involving values up to $80,000. These outcomes remain extremely rare and should never be expected, yet they help explain why collectors continue searching through old collections year after year. A coin connected to such a story could represent the equivalent of a down payment on a home or a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that becomes part of family history and collector folklore for generations. Anyone examining a 1950 Lincoln wheat cent should do so carefully and responsibly. Pay close attention to weight differences, metal color, strike alignment, rim shape, and any signs of letter doubling. Observe whether the design is properly centered, whether the surfaces appear original, and whether unusual features are consistent with the minting process rather than later damage. Magnification can reveal details that otherwise go unnoticed, but professional authentication remains essential whenever a coin appears unusual or potentially valuable. The most fascinating part of this story is that hidden treasures do not always announce themselves. Sometimes they remain unnoticed for decades, waiting in an ordinary collection for someone willing to look a little closer. And if you think this wheat cent has an intriguing story, the next coin may reveal an even more surprising secret hiding where almost nobody thinks to search.